Good morning friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit the playlist. In the playlist, I have provided almost all the topics in a very systematic order, and this is quite convenient for the continuous study. I hope you make use of it. Thank you very much, my dear friends. As you know, we are all discussing about the rickets. In the last class, I have seen and I have explained how the vitamin D is formed from the precursors like ergosterol and 7-dehydrocholesterol. It is converted into the storage form in the liver, which is also called as 25 hydroxy dehydroxycholesterol, and then it is converted into active form in the kidney. In the kidney, it is converted into active form by means of a very important enzyme which is called as 1-alpha hydroxylase enzyme. So absence of this enzyme leads to the deficiency of active form of the vitamin D, although you are taking good amount of the vitamin D in the diet. Okay, so that's very important. Storage form is there enough in the body, but still that storage form is not converted into active form, then the vitamin D is not formed, and therefore calcium absorption and phosphorus absorption is get affected and may lead to rickets. So this point we have to make very clear. In the last class only we have studied this. So today we will see some of the other factors which is related to vitamin D synthesis. Now, continuing from the last class, there are two forms of the vitamins, as you know. One is vitamin D2 and another is called as vitamin D3. Okay, so vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. So D1, D2, D3, like that usually we will do it the nomenclature. Now we shall see what do you mean by D1, D2 and D3 in detail. See, D2 is usually the ergocalcoferol is called as vitamin D2, whereas vitamin D3 is cholecalciferol. We will see into the details of that. Now look at how much vitamin D is required per day. That is 1 microgram. That is about 40 international units of vitamin D is actually required to the body in a day, in 24 hours. Okay, so now what are the richest sources of vitamin D? As we know, one of the best source or richest source is exposure to sunlight, especially that particular sunlight which has got 288 nm of UV light range. So that is considered as one which is able to activate the dehydrocholesterol which is deposited in the subcutaneous layer of the skin, and this will going to help to produce the storage form of the vitamin D. Apart from that, egg yolk is also one of the richest source. Similarly, fish is also richest source. Some of the tropical plants are also richest sources. Fortified formula milk is also considered as richest source of vitamin D. Now we should understand what are some of the basic functions of vitamin D and why it is so important. Number one is the physiological effects of vitamin D. Okay, so number one is increase the intestinal calcium absorption. For the calcium absorption from the intestine, always the active form of the vitamin D is very important. In the absence of this active form of the vitamin D, the calcium is not absorbed from the gut and it leads to hypocalcemia. And number two is it increases the calcium absorption even from the urine. So excretion of the calcium and phosphorus through the urine, so that is also get restricted by the vitamin D. That means the unwanted losses which is happening through the kidney, so that will be also withheld. Similarly, it mediates the bone formation and resorption. Bone formation and resorption, that means bone generation and bone degeneration. When extra amount of the calcium is there, so that will be given to the bones. When blood needs the calcium, it will be taken from the bones. Okay, bone formation and as well as resorption, both are the functions of vitamin D. Similarly, vitamin D, whenever needed, it will go into suppress the PTH. Okay, suppress the PTH, and whenever it is needed, it will go into stimulate the production of the PTH. Parathyroid hormone, very important to maintain the calcium, this maintenance dynamic equilibrium. Now it is it also increases the synthesis of inactive metabolites. It also increases the synthesis of inactive metabolites. So this is the active form of the vitamin D, which is doing all these functions. Okay, we have got vitamin D2, vitamin D3. Vitamin D2 is ergo calcoferol, whereas vitamin D3 is cholecalciferol, whereas the most active form which is required for the actual functioning, that is called as D1. That is called as D1. Okay, and it is told that this D1 will go into act just like a hormone. You can say for the calcium and phosphorus maintenance, absorption and all, just like a hormone it will go into work. Okay, just like a hormone. So it maintains the PTH, it maintains the calcium absorption, it maintains the phosphorus absorption, like that. Okay, so and it is responsible for all biological actions also. So we have got now very clear idea. We have got D1, D2, D3. Rather we have to go in a different way. D2, that is algocalciferol, maybe is a precursor form. Okay, D3 is there cholecalciferol, and the most important active form of the vitamin D is called as D1, which will also act just like a hormone. Now, looking to some of the very important functions of the vitamin D, this is one of the fat soluble vitamin. We know that vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, isn't it? ADEK, that is fat soluble. So presence of the vitamin D in the body is important, but absorption of the vitamin D also depends on the fat material. That means suppose you are not taking the fat, absorption of the vitamin D maybe get affected because this is a fat soluble vitamin. Okay, so this is one of the fat soluble vitamin. It has got important role in maintaining the concentration of the calcium and the phosphorus. This is action number one, function number one. Now, this particular calcium and phosphorus both are very important for bone mineralization. We have seen in the formation of the growth plate and all. So calcium and phosphorus both are very important for the bone mineralization and metabolic functions, many metabolic functions, and also neuromuscular functions that we will see. Even for the neuromuscular functions, vitamin D3, D is important because so many neuromuscular activities, so that depends upon the calcium. Even the cardiac function is also depends upon the calcium. So this calcium will be absorbed only in the presence of D1, that is vitamin D3. Therefore, vitamin D is also important for proper bone formation, metabolic functions, and many of the other neurological and muscular functions. Now, basically vitamin D is a group of sterols. It contains sterol ring, and they contains the sterol nucleus. These sterols are attached to the hydrocarbon chain, and we will have two forms of vitamin D. One from the plant source, which is called as ergocalciferol, which is also called as D2, and which derived from its precursor ergosterol. Okay, so basically vitamin D into the body is available in two forms. Okay, one is from the diet form, another one is from the sunlight, as we know. Okay, that particular ultraviolet rays falls and the change starts. Okay, the photoisomerization etc. will take place. Now, so diet form of the vitamin D, that means vitamin D which is available from the diet, so that will be usually called as ergosterol. Its next form is ergocalciferol. Okay, and another is from the animal source. The one which is available from the animal source is called as a cholecalciferol. For example, egg, maybe in the egg, maybe in the milk. Okay, so these are all animal. First one is a plant source, purely a plant source, and that is called as ergosterol. One which is available from the animal source, that is called as cholecalciferol, which is derived from the precursor called as 7-dehydrocholesterol. 7-dehydrocholesterol. Now, this 7-dehydrocholesterol deposits underneath the skin, and sunlight falls on the 7-dehydrocholesterol, the change starts, and there is formation of vitamin D. I hope this is very clear now. So basically we have got two sources. One is from the animal and another from the plant. From the plant it is called as ergosterol. From the animal source it is called as 7-dehydrocholesterol. And this cholesterol deposits underneath the skin, and that leads to the formation of vitamin D3, vitamin D after exposure to the sunlight. Now vitamin D has got both endogenous and exogenous animal sources. Vitamin D has got endogenous and exogenous animal sources. What I mean to say, endogenous means vitamin D is also produced inside the body to some extent, and vitamin D is also available from the exogenous sources like plants and animals. However, the endogenous source is sufficient to provide up to 90% source of vitamin D3, rather D, vitamin D. That means 90% of the vitamin D which is required for the body will be produced endogenously. Endogenously in the sense, same that animal source of vitamin D, that is a 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is deposited inside the body, and that undergo the photo effects on falling of ultraviolet rays. So that is considered as the endogenous source of vitamin D. 90% of the need will be fulfilled by this endogenous source itself. Now, only thing is you have to provide the sunlight. If the person is not able to expose himself or herself sufficiently to the sunlight, maybe because of the geographical reasons or some other reasons, then there will be a problem. Otherwise, you don't have much vitamin D deficiency. What is the endogenous source of vitamin D? Again, I am repeating, it is nothing but it is produced from the skin through the 7-dehydrocholesterol on sun exposure. Hope you are clear. Exogenous sources are dietary sources, as we have already explained, which includes the animal and plant sources both. Plant source is poorly absorbed. Vitamin D is available in the plant, okay, in the form of ergosterol. But thing is, this ergosterol is very poorly absorbed. It is not so, so nicely absorbed, and 100% absorption not takes place. Maximum things are get wasted out. So we cannot rely on the plant source for vitamin D. So at least you have to take the milk, okay, milk and milk products, so that will provide sufficient amount of vitamin D. Okay, even calcium is also there, vitamin D is also there, and egg yolk and other things. So they are the very richest sources. Now animal sources which are very rich in vitamin D, especially the oils, so fish oil or fish, then liver, milk products, egg, etc. So they are considered to be the richest sources as far as animal source is concerned. Now the problem comes, those who are very, very strict vegetarians are there who will not even take the milk, or some will be there who has got some allergies towards the milk, okay, so primary lactose intolerance and all. So there the problems actually starts. One more common cause is not exposing yourself to the sunlight. That is another major cause. Now in the next class we will look into the metabolism of the vitamin D and how it leads to the formation of the rickets, which is a very, very important part. So that we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much.